Dear learners, I welcome you all to this lecture on African Charter on Human and People's Rights. Yesterday, we have already discussed the background under which this African Charter came into existence, and after that, we also discussed its preamble and some articles, significant provisions of the Charter. So we discussed from preamble to Article 15. But just to recapitulate and for continuation, I'll start from Article 13 again so that you can understand everything in continuation. So, as discussed in our previous lecture, that Article 13 of the Charter states every citizen shall have the right to participate freely in the government of his country, either directly or through freely chosen representatives in accordance with the provisions of the law. It means you see that Article 13 is clear about democracy. People will get right to participate freely in the government of their country only if democracy is there. It is not possible in an authoritarian or hereditary monarchy or dictatorship. So that is why what is being emphasized in the name of political and civil rights, that democracy will be there and it will be the rights of the people to participate freely in the affairs of the government. Every citizen shall have the right of equal access to public service of his country. So again, public employment, that is one thing which is very important for different communities and the individuals. So that is why it will be open to all the public, and every person will have equal access to public services or public employment provided by the state. Then we have every individual shall have the right of access to public property and services in strict equality of all persons before the law. Article 14, the right to property shall be granted. It may only be encroached upon in the interest of public need or in the general interest of the community and in accordance with the provisions of appropriate law. So you see, on the one hand, it is in ensuring the what is called right to property, but at the same time, in the public interest or in the interest of the community, you see that there can be some kind of encroachment upon the right to property. So it is not an absolute right in the light of this Article 14. Article 15. Every individual shall have the right to work under equitable and satisfactory conditions and shall receive equal pay for equal work. Again, this is important from that point of view, that equal pay for equal work. Most of the time, women are discriminated, and equal pay for equal work, that becomes necessary to ensure what is called gender justice. Article 16. Every individual shall have the right to enjoy the best attainable state of physical and mental health. You see, it is not only physical health, but mental health is also being incorporated. So every individual shall have the right to enjoy the best attainable state of physical and mental health. States parties to the present charter shall take the necessary measures to protect the health of their people and to ensure that they receive medical attention when they are sick. You know why I'm trying to explain the provisions or all the articles I'm reading out here? Because if you see that not only the cultural relativism and universalism debate that is there, from that point of view, these articles are important, but you also find these articles are reflecting the challenges, grievances, the problems that the African people have been facing. And due to the scarcity of resources or due to the colonial exploitation, you'll find these things were lacking there. So that is why all these things have been included. For example, the state parties to the present charter shall take the necessary measures to protect the health of the people and to ensure that they receive medical attention when they are sick. This is something that was denied to most of the people in Africa. So that is why, keeping in view the scarcity of resources and also non-availability of hospitals and other medical facilities. So these rights are important, and states are being asked, to provide these services to the people. Then Article 17, every individual shall have the right to education. Right to education is being emphasized. Of course, This is one of the rights that is recognized in most of the conventions and covenants you will find. Every individual may freely take part in the cultural life of his community. You see, every individual, when he has a right to participate in the cultural life of his community, it means, first of all, cultural diversity is being recognized. And so that's why, the different communities, they are living in Africa, they have their distinct culture, tradition, language, custom, tradition, etc. So, they are to be preserved. So, cultural diversity, first of all, it will be preserved, and the people have every right to participate in the cultural life of his community or their community. You see, in this sense, what happens that the cultural rights that are being ensured, and it means the distinctiveness of the culture or the distinctiveness of individuals, so far as from the linguistic or cultural point of view, is something that will be promoted and protected. The promotion and protection of morals and traditional values recognized by the community shall be the duty of the state. A state will not try to bulldoze the identities. A state will not, try to do away with the values, traditional values that have been there in the society. A state may be a modern nation state with, of course, the project of modernity, but it doesn't mean that the cultural values, morals, traditional values, they are going to be sacrificed. So that is why what is being ensured here, that the promotion and protection of morals and traditional values recognized by the community shall be the duty of the state. Article 18. The family shall be the natural unit. Important to mention here, and you must note this. The family shall be the natural unit and basis of society. It shall be protected by the state, which shall take care of its physical health and moral. You see, the family, first of all, it is being recognized as the natural unit and basis of society. The fundamental difference between the African values and the Western liberal values. In Western liberal values, you will find individual is the basic unit of the society, and it is individual freedom. It is individual right. That is emphasized in most of the cases. Here, what is happening? That the family shall be the natural unit and basis of society that is being declared. Again, this is the reflection of the cherished ideals and values of African society, where family is being recognized as the natural unit and basis of society. And it is the responsibility, duty of the state to protect the structure of the family. You see, the state shall have the duty to assist the family, which is the custodian of morals and traditional values recognized by the community. Again, important, not only that family is to be protected, but a state shall have the duty to assist the family, which is the custodian of morals and traditional values recognized by the community. So not only individual, but you will find that family as a unit will get all kind of protection and rights from the state. The state shall ensure the elimination of every discrimination against women and also ensure the protection of the rights of women and the child as stipulated in international declarations and conventions. So, a special emphasis is being given to the protection of the rights of women and children, the vulnerable groups. So, recognizing the vulnerabilities of women and children, it is being emphasized that the state shall ensure that the elimination of every discrimination against women, whether it is gender discrimination, gender injustice, whatever, and also ensure the protection of the rights of the women and the child as stipulated in international declarations and conventions. So you see whether these are the convention or the covenants adopted by the United Nations or other international arrangements. So they in the light of those, means high international standards of rights of children and women will be maintained. That is being ensured through this charter. The aged and the disabled shall also have the right to special measures of protection in keeping with their physical or moral needs. Again, what is there, that the old people, they are most of the time neglected in the society. So the old people and the disabled people. Now, a special groups, you see, first of all, it starts with the women. It starts with the family, then it talks of women, then it talks of children, and now, the other vulnerable group is being mentioned, and that is the aged people, and then disabled people. So there are special measures of protection in keeping with their physical or moral needs that is needed. Article 19. All people shall be equal. They shall enjoy the same respect and shall have the same rights. Nothing shall justify the domination of a people by another. Again, you see African history and the challenges that the African people have faced. That is being reflected in Article 19. So, this was a society, or most of the African countries, they were under colonialism. They were exploited by, the people from outside. And that way, that was the biggest challenge for Africa. So, what is being emphasized here? That all people shall be equal. They shall enjoy the same respect and shall have the same rights. Nothing shall justify the domination of a people by another. So, the society should not be divided into dominant and non-dominant. Our society should not be, in this sense, it should not be like haves and have not, dominant and non-dominant. No. This is not justified according to Article 19, or the spirit of the Article 19 is trying to create that kind of equality where there is nothing like a dominant group which is trying to, impose its ideas and morals upon others. So that is not justified. Article 20. All peoples shall have the right to existence. Interesting. It is not right to life, right to existence. They shall have the unquestionable and inalienable right to self-determination. They shall freely determine their political status and shall pursue their economic and social development according to the policy they have freely chosen. It means nothing should be imposed or superimposed from outside. Keeping in view the African history and the history of colonialism and imperialism in Africa, the imperious loot and plunder in Africa, you see, again this Article 20 becomes important. All people shall have the right to existence. They shall have the unquestionable and inalienable right to self-determination. They shall freely determine their political status and shall pursue their economic and social development according to the policy they have freely chosen. Slavery is something, for example, that was not the profession by choice. The people were compelled to go for slavery or servitude. So that's why all those things should be kept in mind when we are discussing these articles of the African Charter. Again, this is interesting and very important to mention. Colonized or oppressed peoples. See, and you should mark the word. Colonized or oppressed people shall have the right to free themselves from the bonds of domination. So first of all, that is the right of the people to free themselves from the bonds of domination if they are colonized, oppressed, by resorting to any means. You see, by resorting to any means, this is interesting and very important, recognized by the international community. So it means it is trying to legitimize the freedom struggle, national liberation struggle against foreign occupation. So, what has happened most of the time, you'll find that the colonialists, they not only try to colonize the nation, but they also criminalize the resistance to colonization. So, resistance to colonialism and imperialism, that is criminalized by them because they control the political power and the economic power. So, they do this. So, keeping in view that, point, and especially the colonization of Africa by the outsiders, this right should be understood that colonized or oppressed people shall have the right to free themselves from the bonds of domination. That is the right of the people. It means to wage freedom struggle. That is the right of the people by resorting to any means recognized by the international community. All people shall have the right to the assistance of the state parties to the present charter in their liberation struggle against foreign domination, be it political, economic, or cultural. Again, you see, interesting that the three aspects of domination has been mentioned here. They have been mentioned here. So, what is being emphasized that all people shall have the right to the assistance of the state parties, means all the signatories, all the parties to the African Charter, they have a duty to provide assistance to whom? The people of Africa, if they are if they are under foreign domination. So when they are trying to liberate themselves, when they are waging liberation struggle, freedom struggle, it is the duty of all the member states of this African Charter to help those people to fight against colonialism and foreign domination. And this foreign domination may not be only political domination, where a state has been colonized and the puppet regime has been established or foreigners are ruling. No, not like that. Even economic domination, if that is there, or cultural domination, the theory of cultural invasion, you must have heard that the African culture or African tradition and customs being denounced, criticized, condemned. And what happened? The white man's burden theory start working, under which it is the responsibility of the white men to civilize others, and that becomes a justification for colonization. So here, white man's burden theory also we should keep in mind, and what is being emphasized that the people have every right to wage freedom struggle against the foreign domination, and in doing so, they will be having or they should be assisted by the member states of the African Charter. At the same time, when the domination is being mentioned, you will find the three dimensions of domination, that is political domination, economic domination, or cultural domination. All these things are being highlighted. Article 21. All people shall freely dispose of their wealth and natural resources. So the people, all peoples, when it is being mentioned, you can understand nation state or the states or the countries. So all people shall freely dispose of their wealth and natural resources. This right shall be exercised in the exclusive interest of the people. In no case shall a people be deprived of it. So, it should be the exclusive right of the people of Africa living in any country to dispose of their wealth and natural resources according to their will. So, it means in the name of access to international raw material, the countries cannot be compelled to, or the countries cannot be forced to allow the foreign forces to go for mining or for exploiting the resources, natural resources that they possess. So in this sense also this is important. In case of spoliation, the dispossessed people shall have the right to the lawful recovery of its property as well as to an adequate compensation. Again important. So in case of spoliation, the dispossessed people, the people, those who are being dispossessed, their wealth and resources are being taken away. So they shall have the right to the lawful recovery of its property as well as to an adequate compensation. So you'll find compensatory justice is being emphasized. The free disposal of wealth and natural resources shall be exercised without prejudice to the obligation of promoting international economic cooperation based on mutual respect, equitable exchange, and the principle of international law. So, the thing is that mutual respect should be there so far as the international economic cooperation, if that is to be promoted. So, it should be based on mutual respect, equitable exchange, and the principle of international law. State parties to the present charter shall individually and collectively exercise the right to free disposal of their wealth and natural resources with a view to strengthening African unity and solidarity. So, what will be there? The aim should be to strengthen African unity and solidarity. State parties to the present charter shall undertake to eliminate all forms of foreign economic exploitation, particularly that practiced by international monopolies, so as to enable their peoples to fully benefit from the advantages derived from the natural resources. You see that It is said that the most of the colonies were built, or most of the colonies, or the most of the territories were occupied by the imperialist forces for the exploitation of the natural resources. So, this article, keeping in view the history of colonialism in Africa, the exploitation of the people, the exploitation of their natural resources, what is being highlighted here that the state parties to the present charter shall undertake to eliminate all forms of foreign economic exploitation, particularly that practiced by international monopolies, so as to enable their peoples to fully benefit from the advantages derived from their national resources. It means outsiders should not have any kind of monopoly over the resources that are there in the countries. Article 22. All people shall have the right to their economic, social, and cultural development, with due regard to their freedom and identity, and in the equal enjoyment of the common heritage of mankind. See this article. All people shall have the right to their economic, social, and cultural development, with due regard to their freedom and identity. Again, you see that the economic, social, and cultural development is subject to what? That development, that is their freedom and identity, and in the equal enjoyment of the common heritage of mankind. States shall have the duty, individually or collectively, to ensure the exercise of the right to development. You see, third generation rights, that is being emphasized. So, right to development, that is third generation right. It is the only charter, we have already discussed European Convention, we have also discussed the American Convention. Now we are discussing African Charter, and you will find in the African Charter, it is the right to development that is being emphasized, representing the interest of the global south, you see. Article 23. All people shall have the right to national and international peace and security. Again, this is also related with the group rights. The principles of solidarity and friendly relations implicitly affirmed by the Charter of the United Nations and reaffirmed by that of the Organization of African Unity shall govern relations between states. So, the Charter, when United Nations Charter is being cited, what is the governing principle of the UN Charter? Sovereign equality of all its members. So, the sovereign equality of all its members, there may be privileged position for 5 nations in the UN Security Council, but so far as the General Assembly is concerned, you will find all countries have the same status. There is no privileged position for any country. So that is a body that is perfectly democratic body where the nations, large or small, poor or rich, they all are equal. So that is why, the UN Charter is being cited here, and I already discussed the governing principle, and that is, when I am talking about the governing principle, it is sovereign equality of all its members, and then reaffirmed by that of the Organization of African Unity. You find that in the African Unity or in the Charter, what is being emphasized? That the people should not be dominated by others, people should not be exploited, economically, culturally, or other ways. All these things have been mentioned. For the purpose of strengthening peace, solidarity, and friendly relations, state parties to the present Charter shall ensure that, what are the things? Any individual enjoying the right of asylum under Article 12 of the present Charter shall not engage in subversive activities against his country of origin or any other state party to the present Charter. Again, you see, the right to asylum has been granted, but at the same time, if a person has taken asylum means shelter with active protection. So, from that country where he has taken asylum, he will not be indulged or he will not be engaged in any kind of subversive activities against his country of origin, from where he has migrated or he has taken shelter in another country. So, he will not do anything like that. Why? Because it is needed according to the Charter, it is needed for maintaining security and peace. Their territories shall not be used as basis for subversive or terrorist activities against the people of any other state party to the present Charter. Within Africa also there can be migration, or the people may get extra asylum under that kind of circumstances. It should not happen. All people shall have the right to a general satisfactory environment favorable to their development. Again, the positive socio-economic condition and other conditions should be provided so that the positive, all people have the right to general satisfactory environment favorable to their development, so that they can develop their personality to the fullest extent. And that will be possible only when satisfactory environment, positive socio-economic condition, they are provided by the state. Article 25. State parties to the present charter shall have the duty to promote and ensure through teaching, education, and publication the respect of the rights and freedoms contained in the present charter, and to see to it that these freedoms and rights, as well as corresponding obligations and duties, are understood. That is again the responsibility being entrusted upon the state to do all these things through dissemination of knowledge, sensitization, etc., about the rights and obligations that are mentioned in the African Charter. Article 26. State parties to the present charter shall have the duty to guarantee the independence of the courts and shall allow the establishment and improvement of appropriate national institutions entrusted with the promotion and protection of the rights and freedoms granted by the present charter. So, corresponding laws and institutional mechanism must be developed by the member states so that all the articles and the rights that have been granted by the charter, they are properly implemented and effectively enforced. Article 27. Every individual shall have duties towards his family. Now, this is the chapter on duties. So far we discussed about the rights, and in the rights we found that the first generation rights, second generation rights, then third generation rights, all the three generations of rights were emphasized. Now we have to take up the duties, which is one of the unique features of the African Charter, where duties have been also listed. So, for that, to discuss duties and other aspects of the African Charter, we will be discussing all these things in our next lecture on African Charter. Thank you very much.